Have you ever stared at your computer screen late at night, lights dimmed and heart heavy, wondering why those who contribute the least seem to rise the fastest? Why the loudest, not the smartest, the most socially savvy, not the most sincere, continue to climb the corporate ladder while you watch from the same desk you've been sitting at for years? Let me shatter your illusion. Promotions aren't given to the most competent. They're awarded to those who know how to be seen, to be felt, to be remembered. The workplace is not a meritocracy. It's a theater, and competence is just your costume, but visibility is your spotlight. If you click away from this video, nothing will change. You'll still be the one doing the heavy lifting while others dance past you with smiles and empty folders. But if you stay, you will finally understand why your excellence is invisible, and why the secret to advancement has nothing to do with how well you do your job, and everything to do with who notices. Because in this world, the unseen are unpaid, and the unheard remain stuck. We were raised inside a lie. We were taught that if we just worked hard, if we kept our heads down and focused, eventually someone would notice, and we would be rewarded. This myth of moral meritocracy is persistent, seductive, and dangerous. It's what fuels burnout. It's what convinces people to suffer in silence, believing their moment will come. But reality has its own rules, and they don't follow the script you were handed. The workplace is not a temple of fairness. It is a human system, governed by human biases, unconscious judgments, tribal allegiances, and strategic alliances. And in such a system, excellence is necessary but insufficient. To believe otherwise is to live in denial. Just ask any high-performing employee who was passed over for someone louder, more charming, or more politically savvy. When Carl Jung said the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are, he wasn't speaking to your resume. He was speaking to your individuation, your emergence into fullness. But how can you become anything more if nobody sees who you already are? Your value, however sacred, cannot exist in a vacuum, because the market doesn't reward what's hidden, it rewards what's recognized. Competency is like oxygen, essential but invisible. It keeps the system breathing, but no one thanks the air. They thank the wind, the one who moves, who sways things, who makes noise. And in the workplace, that wind is influence. Let me introduce you to a cruel paradox. The people you work hardest for don't even know how hard you're working. Your late nights, your solution-oriented mindset, your emotional intelligence, they're all stored in a vault of quiet contribution. And guess what? That vault doesn't open unless you speak its combination out loud. Here's a true story. There was a woman named Amira, most competent person in her department. Team players relied on her. Her manager secretly admitted they'd fall apart without her. But that's the problem. It stayed secret. Amira never marketed her value. She assumed they'd do the math. She assumed results meant recognition. Meanwhile, Lucas, her colleague, spent half his meetings name-dropping executives, offering to help on high-visibility projects, and up-talking his minor wins with performance theater charm. Guess who got promoted? It wasn't the pillar, it was the peacock. And Amira? She was told to keep up the great work. This isn't fiction. This is corporate Darwinism. Freud once said, being entirely honest with oneself is a good exercise. So ask yourself, have you equated humility with self-erasure? Have you worn silence like some kind of ethical badge? Maybe you've been clinging to the belief that doing more is the answer, but that belief is slowly bleeding you dry. This isn't about becoming fake or political. It's not about manipulating others. It's about restoring your agency, about learning how influence works. Because once you do, you reclaim your right to rise. Abraham Maslow believed that we evolve through needs: physiological, safety, love, esteem, self-actualization. And you? You're stuck between esteem and actualization. You know you have more to give, but the machine is slow to notice. Why? Because the system does not see you. Because you haven't made yourself legible to it. Have you ever walked out of a meeting with a great idea still lodged in your throat? Have you ever done the heavy lifting behind the scenes and then watched someone else get thanked for the outcome? Do you ever feel like you're performing in a play that no one stays to watch? Why does nobody talk about this? Why do organizations preach collaboration, innovation, and equity, but reward charisma, performance, and strategic alliances? Because that's what gets noticed. You can have all the substance in the world, but in this game, perception is reality. And if you're not directing the narrative, you're a background character in someone else's story. Alfred Adler taught us that at our core, we're driven not just by survival or sex, but by a deep hunger for significance. That hunger is often buried beneath layers of quiet professionalism, but it never dies. And when it goes unfulfilled for long enough, it turns poisonous. You start resenting the system, the people, yourself. But there is a way out, and it's not about betraying who you are. It's about expanding who you are allowed to be. Strategic positioning doesn't mean becoming someone different. It means placing yourself where opportunity can find you. Viktor Frankl, who found meaning in unimaginable suffering, taught us that man's freedom lies in the space between stimulus and response. In that space, we choose. And in your career, every unnoticed contribution is a stimulus. The question is, how will you respond? Will you continue hoping someone notices your inner greatness? Or will you become the author of your narrative? No one gets promoted into leadership unless people believe they're already a leader. People don't promote potential. They promote perception of impact. And that perception, my friend, must be cultivated. Are you visible in meetings? Do people associate your name with value, outcomes, solutions, ideas? Or do they associate you with reliable, quiet, works hard? Let me tell you a painful truth. Works hard is the praise they give people they plan to keep where they are. Promotions are not rewards. They are investments. And if nobody can visualize your return, you aren't going anywhere. Let's speak plainly now. Start controlling the perception without losing the substance. Architect your visibility. Begin small. Speak once per meeting. Connect the work you do to the outcomes that matter to leadership. Stop assuming that effort equals credit. Start building alliances, not friendships. There is a difference. You are not required to play politics, but you must understand it. Because it's real. And in many ways, it's just human behavior dressed in sharper suits. Erich Fromm said, "Man's main task in life is to give birth to himself." The workplace is no different. Nobody will deliver you into greatness. You must birth your professional identity as someone who matters, not just someone who helps. Reputation is not built on what you do. It's built on what people say you do. That starts with positioning. Identify your perception map. Who matters? What do they think of you right now? What evidence are they basing that on? Are you offering shadows or clarity? Start telling your story, not to boast, but to breathe life into your contributions. Turn execution into narration. Don't say, "I helped with that project." Say, "I led part of the strategy that helped the team save 20 hours. Details matter. Framing shapes perception, and perception decides your trajectory. The closer you stand to the decision makers, the more likely you are to be chosen. This isn't favoritism, it's proximity. Influence begins in whispers before it ever becomes policy. You want to be promoted. Be in people's minds before the promotion cycle begins. Drop updates. Show interest beyond your box. Build credibility beyond your job title. If you're waiting for annual reviews to promote yourself, you're already late. This is hard truth, I know. But perhaps the most liberating truth is this. You don't have to betray your core values to succeed. You just have to stop hiding them. Your integrity, your depth, your vision, these are beautiful. But beauty needs lighting. Otherwise, it fades into the walls. If your genius lives in darkness, the world will go on believing you're ordinary. That would be a tragedy, not for them, but for you. So I ask you now, are you ready to be seen? Are you ready to stop waiting for recognition and start authorship? This is not about selling out. It's about showing up. Fully, strategically, intentionally. Because no system, no boss, no culture will ever choose you if they can't see you. The secret to getting promoted is not being the best. It is being known as aligned with the needs of power. When needs and narrative collide, doors open. If you've made it this far, I want to know who truly understood the message. Leave the phrase "hard work doesn't speak unless you do" in the comments. And let's see how many of you really grasp what it means to lead, rise, and be seen. If this video made you question something, if it made you see things from a different angle, like and subscribe because this is just the beginning. I'll see you in the next video. And remember, in a world that promotes those who are seen, being invisible is not being humble, it's being forgotten.